long week. So please take your seats.
One, two, three,
Dear colleagues, we have quorum and I propose to start.
11 is the
12. No, you have 12.
Okay.
Senegal
Yeah.
just arrived.
So,
Switzerland. Thailand is there. It's okay.
okay, so we can start. Dear colleagues, we will now deal with the item 10D of our agenda, follow-up of the second cycle of the periodic reporting exercise for Africa. The relevant document is WHC 12/36.com/10D, which is in front of you, and it has to be read in conjunction with document WHC 12/36.com/inf.10D. I would like to give the floor to Mr. Elundu from the World Heritage Center, who will present to us this matter, and to George Abungu, coordinator of the periodic report on behalf of the state parties. Please, World Heritage Center, floor is yours. Please, dear colleagues, silence.
Merci Madame la Présidente. Permettez-moi d'abord, première diapo s'il vous plaît, de rappeler qu'un des principes qui avait été adopté par les États parties de la région Afrique lors de ce travail, et notamment pour l'élaboration du plan d'action de l'Afrique 2012-2017, a consisté à assurer et s'assurer de la participation et de l'implication totale des États parties et des experts africains. Ce plan, qui résulte du rapport qui a été présenté l'année dernière lors de la 35e session, a été finalisé lors d'une réunion qui a eu lieu à Paris et qui réunissait le coordinateur régional du rapport périodique, les 4 facilitateurs sous-régionaux, les organisations consultatives et les institutions de formation. Madame la Présidente, je voudrais d'ores et déjà vous informer du fait que les États parties s'étaient engagés lors de la réunion finale qui avait eu lieu en Afrique du Sud à Vredefort-Dom de la mise en œuvre du plan d'action régional jusqu'au point de le considérer pour élaborer les plans nationaux intégrés. Tenant compte des forts liens qui existent notamment entre la nature et la culture, ce plan prévoit essentiellement des liens communs et notamment des modules nature et des modules culture dans le programme régional, avec notamment le programme Africa Nature qui est déjà en cours de mise en œuvre. Ce plan régional, évidemment, prend en compte la stratégie de renforcement des capacités qui vous a été présentée hier par l'ICROM. Le plan d'action régional de l'Afrique vous est présenté dans le document 10D INF. Ce plan d'action 2012-2017 vous sera donc présenté par le coordonnateur régional, le Dr George Abungu.
Madam Chair, distinguished members of the World Heritage Committee, state parties to the convention, let me take this opportunity to first of all send our sympathies to the State Party of Mali, I would like to recognize the fact that in this room, one of the mentors is from Mali, who worked on this and is a member of the committee. And another member of the committee was also in charge of Timbuktu. He's also in this particular room, and you can feel how they feel. So our deep sympathies. Since I last stood before you, members of the committee, at the 35th session, to present the final report of the second periodic reporting in Africa region, we have been able to successfully develop an action plan to implement the recommendation of the state parties. As indicated by the Chief of the African Union, the Action Plan 2012-2017 for the African region is presented in document D10D-INF. Madam Chair, you will recall that at the 35th session, I presented the outcomes and the recommendations of periodic results on behalf of the state parties. With the permission of the same state parties to the convention, I hereby present the action plan for 2012-2017. I wish to recall the main issues raised in the second periodic reporting: issues related to policy and legal frameworks, the identification of cultural and natural heritage, scientific and technical studies and research at properties, sensitization of various stakeholders, establishment and implementation of protective measures, availability, mobilization of financial and human resources, the involvement of local communities' conservation activities, and direct benefit to the local communities. Another important issue raised was concerning the various factors that affect heritage properties. These issues led state parties to make the following recommendations to the committee at its 35th session, and as part of the contribution of the region for consideration in the future direction of the convention, Madam Chair. Direct community involvement and benefits from World Heritage properties. Local communities require assistance and support to address their needs in order to benefit directly from the World Heritage status. 2. The recognition, formalization, and documentation of traditional management systems in the region are important. These remain pertinent as African state parties have sufficient knowledge of traditional management systems and they wish to contribute to clarifying paragraph 108 of the operational guidelines. Madam Chair, the third was that World Heritage and development needs should be urgently addressed, and state parties are particularly satisfied that the theme of the 40th anniversary is addressing this issue. The protection of World Heritage properties in conflict and post-conflict areas remain an urgent today as ever in view of ongoing political conflicts in the region. And Madam Chair, the case of Mali and Timbuktu is an example, and DRC. Madam Chair, the action plan for the region is going to take place for the next 6 years. We would like to recognize and appreciate, on behalf of the African state parties, the support of the government of Denmark and the African World Heritage Fund in the preparation of this particular action plan. The expert meeting held in Paris in 18th to 20th of April 2012 worked efficiently to ensure that issues were first addressed at sub-regional level for the subsequent use of individual state parties in the preparation of their national strategic plan. I stress, their national strategic plan. The action plan envisages that by 2017, the management and conservation of African World Heritage properties will improve by an average of 25% from the 2012 baseline, while addressing development needs and improving livelihoods of local communities. The implementation strategies, Madam Chair. Madam Chair, in recognition of the contribution of local communities, site managers, and personnel who work towards the effective conservation of the heritage properties. The state parties recommend that the implementation of the plan focuses on them as primary beneficiary to ensure long-term sustainability of conservation and management activities. In order to ensure coherence with UNESCO practice, the proposed regional action plan aligns itself with UNESCO's biennial starting from the year 2012. The regional action plan is founded on three major implementation strategies, Madam Chair. One, the participation of state parties through ensuring development of National Strategic Plan 2012-2017 for implementation of the World Heritage Convention within their territories. Two, the regional capacity building program with its two modules for natural and cultural heritage, that is Africa Nature and Africa 2020, as presented in document COM 10D. The regional program action will be supplemented by other relevant World Heritage programs to ensure maximum results. Madam Chair, 3, advocacy meetings and consultations at regional and sub-regional levels to address specific issues that do not fall within the sphere of capacity building. Existing partnerships and networks built since the first cycle of periodic reporting will be built upon. Technical partners for its implementation are the advisory bodies IUCN, ICOMOS, and ICROM, the Category 2 centers, African World Heritage Fund, the regional training institutions, CHED and EPA, universities in Africa, wildlife training institutions, and many others concerned. Increased efforts, however, will be made to partner with regional universities in implementing the identified actions. The objectives, Madam Chair, objective number 1 is to improve representation of African heritage sites on the World Heritage List. It is expected that national tentative list will be updated following the identification of new typologies and the updates of national inventories in at least 20 state parties. 2, that there will be an increased number and quality of nomination dossiers from the region. Objective 2, Madam Chair, improved state of conservation at World Heritage properties by effective risk management, increased community involvement, and direct economic benefit to local communities. The objective aims at achieving the following results. 1, improve the state of protection of World Heritage properties in the region. 2, improve direct economic benefit to local communities in and around World Heritage properties through mutual benefit of local tourism and conservation concerns. 3, community and tourism development strategies fully integrated into property conservation and management mechanisms. And 4, improved state of risk preparedness and natural disaster management, including effects of climate change at the properties. Objective number 3, effective management of existing properties through recognition, documentation, and formalization of traditional management systems. Madam Chair, the first is this objective aims at improving the level of involvement of local communities while integrating traditional management systems in the management of a minimum of 20 World Heritage properties. 2, improve cooperation between government agencies responsible for cultural and natural heritage. 3, enhanced management effectiveness assessment at natural properties in the region. 4, improved property conservation through enhanced use of documentation and monitoring. Objective number 4, development and implementation of strategies to enable state parties to effectively address the challenge of balancing heritage conservation and development needs. Madam Chair, the first will be effective strategies that address resource prospection and extraction in and around World Heritage properties and protected sites. 2 is sustainable mechanisms in place for infrastructural development necessary for the effective management and promotion of properties. 3 is improved protection of OUV through mobilization of planning, environmental, heritage, and other related authorities. And lastly, active network for sharing of experiences and knowledge management between various stakeholders that we recognize as very important. Objective number 5. Madam Chair, this will be establishment and implementation of necessary mechanisms for heritage conservation, protection, and management in pre-conflict, conflict, and post-conflict situations. Here, we are looking at cultural and natural heritage properties that are protected in the event of armed conflict. And secondly, improved national capacities to deal with outcomes of armed conflict in and around World Heritage properties. And we do hope that the committee will look at this particular element very, very closely. Madam Chair, I would now like to hand over back to the Chief of the African Unit to finally conclude. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Madam Chair, I think this objective number 5, you will recognize that it has been discussed at length with the member of the World Heritage Committee, and we would like to recall not only the situation that the site of Timbuktu is facing, but also the one that the Virunga National Park and the Okapi are also facing. Madam Chair, I would like to conclude this presentation with issues related to the celebration of the 40th anniversary. A special meeting on the coexistence of World Heritage, development activities, and physical resource extraction in the Africa region was held in the framework of the 40th anniversary of the Convention, in line with Decision 35-10A in Johannesburg from 23 to 25 May 2012, and in partnership with the Government of South Africa and the African World Heritage Fund. The results of this meeting will be made available in the next committee meeting. Also, Madam Chair, an inter-regional conference on living with World Heritage was also held in Røros, Norway from 14 to 16 May, at which several, I will even say the majority of the participants came from African state parties and actively participated. Also, a special publication with the support of the government of Switzerland on World Heritage in Africa is currently under preparation and will be presented publicly, possibly at the next international conference and celebration on World Heritage and Sustainable Development, which will be held in South Africa in September 2012. Distinguished committee members, you will find the draft decision on page 4 and 5 for the English version and on page 5 and 6 of the French version. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you very much. Ikrom, floor is yours.
Merci, Madame la Présidente. Messieurs les représentants des États partis, le rapport que nous venons d'écouter sur la situation du patrimoine africain confirme les raisons de préoccupation que dans ces jours nous avons vu se lever à propos de plusieurs des cas examinés par ce comité, et dernièrement à Timbuktu de la façon la plus dramatique. Les causes des problèmes qu'il y a dans beaucoup de ces situations vont certainement au-delà du domaine du patrimoine, mais il n'y a pas de doute, et beaucoup des interventions sur la présentation de la stratégie du patrimoine mondial pour le renforcement des capacités l'ont confirmé, que parmi les faiblesses structurelles de bien de sites de l'Afrique, il y a l'insuffisante dotation de personnel spécialisé dans la conservation des caractères soit physiques, soit immatériels du patrimoine. Je crois que le monde de la conservation doit de la reconnaissance à mon ancien prédécesseur à l'ICROM et collègue archéologue de la Turquie, le professeur Şevket Erder, pour l'avoir lancé en 1985 le premier programme, le PREMA, visant à combler cette lacune en Afrique. De ces expériences sont nées, surtout avec le soutien de l'UNESCO et de quelques pays et donneurs occidentaux, des institutions autonomes de l'ICROM, bien qu'assistées d'elles, l'EPA, c'est-à-dire l'École du patrimoine africain basée à Porto Novo au Bénin, et le CEDA, le Centre pour l'Heritage Development in Africa, basé à Mombasa au Kenya, qui ont beaucoup travaillé dans ces années avec des résultats importants dans la formation, comme dans le programme Africa de 2009. Et en plus, avec le mérite reconnu d'avoir toutes les deux institutions, même sous des statuts différents, joué le rôle d'organisation vraiment internationale, ce qui est très important pour former des professionnels doués d'une conception large du patrimoine, qui sachent interpréter avec indépendance et équilibre les valeurs de l'identité culturelle sans le risque du nationalisme. En dépit de ces mérites reconnus, ces structures, l'EPA et le CEDA, sont aujourd'hui, même si à mesure différente, en crise. Surtout le CEDA fait face en ce moment à une situation très grave et son conseil a dû, pour des raisons brutalement économiques, renoncer dans ce jour à grand regret au service d'un directeur dont les mérites, la compétence, aussi que l'engagement dans sa mission étaient précieuses. De façon provisoire, la direction a été assurée par le Musée national du Kenya que nous remercions ici, mais la situation reste très difficile et ne peut rester comme ça longtemps. C'est pour cette raison qu'il y a quelques semaines, j'ai décidé d'envoyer une lettre aux autorités compétentes des pays concernés d'Afrique pour en solliciter un plus fort engagement, soit économique, soit en termes de participation à l'organisation de ces deux institutions. J'ai confiance que les réponses seront à l'auteur des défis que le patrimoine de l'Afrique pose à la culture de la communauté africaine et internationale. Je vois que l'intérêt pour le patrimoine africain est fort vivant et j'en ai eu la confirmation de l'attention que cette salle a réservée au site d'Afrique, des discours du ministre du Mali, du Tchad, du Cameroun et de Tanzanie que j'ai écoutés l'autre hier dans le meeting spécial dans la salle 16. Aussi bien que des études et des expositions consacrées à l'Afrique qui se déroulent dans bien d'universités et de musées dans tout le monde. Je voudrais que cette attention se reflète dans une mesure significative aussi sur le thème de la formation dont je vous ai parlé. Dans ce domaine, l'ICROM est prête à continuer à faire sa partie avec le soutien de la communauté internationale en pleine syntonie avec les autres organisations affiliées à l'UNESCO et les centres de compétences, les universités présentes dans le continent. En vous remerciant pour l'attention, permettez-vous de me donner la parole maintenant à mon prédécesseur et collègue et ami, Mounir Bouchnaki, qui, avec bien plus d'expérience de moi dans ce domaine, pourra ajouter quelques considérations utiles. Merci, Madame la Présidente.
Thank you very much. IUCN, floor is yours.
Madame, j'avais demandé de donner la parole à Bouchnaki pour quelques considérations injonctives, si vous permettez.
Oui, bien sûr.
Merci.
Merci Madame la Présidente. Madame la Présidente, je voudrais simplement rajouter à ce que vient de dire mon successeur, M. Stefano De Caro, que la situation en matière de formation pour tout le continent africain repose uniquement sur deux institutions spécialisées dans le domaine du patrimoine culturel. D'un côté, le CEDA à Mombasa, au Kenya, et de l'autre côté, l'école du patrimoine africain à Porto Novo, au Bénin. Ces deux institutions sont spécialisées et elles travaillent bien, mais compte tenu de la crise financière qui affecte le monde entier, ces institutions sont donc touchées et elles ont des difficultés à poursuivre leur travail et à avoir une permanence dans leur activité. C'est pourquoi je voudrais ici tout d'abord remercier les autorités françaises qui, depuis 3 ans, envoient une jeune experte associée française totalement au service de la zone Afrique et en particulier des rapports avec les deux institutions, le CEDA et l'EPA. Deuxièmement, je voudrais indiquer que Mme Bokova, directrice générale de l'UNESCO, et la sous-directrice générale pour la priorité Afrique, Mme Benbarka, ont apporté tout leur soutien pour que, à travers le Centre du patrimoine mondial, mais aussi à travers les bureaux régionaux de l'UNESCO en Afrique, il y ait une coordination et un appui à ces deux centres. Enfin, je voudrais dire que le département d'État aux États-Unis nous a indiqué que le fonds des ambassadeurs américains en Afrique est à la disposition des États africains qui souhaitent faire appel à une assistance pour la formation. Voilà, Madame la Présidente, ce que je voulais rajouter pour dire que aujourd'hui, c'est une période extrêmement sensible. Nous avons eu ce matin une longue réunion avec Madame la Ministre de la Culture du Mali. Nous avons abordé les questions dramatiques qui se posent dans ce pays et la nécessité d'avoir du personnel formé, compétent, qui puisse agir à temps dans les situations de crise. Merci, Madame la Présidente.
Merci beaucoup. Et maintenant, je donne la parole à un représentant du IUCN.
Thank you, Chair. Firstly, thanks to the World Heritage Centre and to George Abungu for the presentation. We're delighted to be fully engaged in the process of following up the periodic report and to be engaged in its preparation. We note, as Ikram has also underlined and the report outlined, some of the challenges that are facing African sites. For natural heritage, one of the obvious points to make is the number of sites that are listed still on the list of World Heritage in danger, and in particular the number in Western Central Africa, where according to our figures around 60% of the sites are currently danger listed, as opposed to only 8% of natural sites being the global average. In Western Central Africa, a precarious security situation is often the root that's contributing to the decline of wildlife populations and habitats in a range of these World Heritage sites, and we'd like to note and underline again that the rangers and staff of these sites are often on the front lines of armed conflict, and over the years many have lost their lives. And a second tragedy for African heritage at this session has been the attack in the Okapi Wildlife Reserve, resulting in the death of guards, the death of iconic wildlife, the Okapi of that property and its captive breeding station, and also the destruction of infrastructure within that site. In terms of issues, for many properties, issues of governance, we think are part of the question that needs to be answered, and solutions are required, firstly to revise governance to ensure all state actors are really on board and supporting conservation goals, that communities are fully engaged, and that management of the site is linked with its wider landscape. Many sites also have major investment and technical support requirements, even despite many decades of investment, and in a number, emergency action plans are required. And significant issues such as organised poaching and extractive projects seem to be growing, though they are driven substantially by outside demand for ivory, for rhino horn, for non-renewable energy sources. And that highlights the international dimensions that the Convention needs to tackle, not only through its own measures, but through linking to other instruments like the Convention on International Trade on Endangered Species, like the Convention on Biological Diversity, and like the UN Framework Convention on Climate Change, in order to consider alternatives to extractive industry and renewable energy. And we note that in the short term, some of the economic gains from extractives in Africa do not necessarily benefit local populations and may not also be the best strategic choice for development. And they are also developments which can add and facilitate some of the other conservation problems on sites, such as increasing poaching pressure through the resulting access that's facilitated to sites and to markets. Sustainable development and the engagement with sustainable development is going to be a key discussion as the debate moves forward in relation to meeting these challenges. And we note that sustainability has the three pillars: environment, economy and society, and the strong model of sustainability sees environment as an envelope for encompassing the achievement of the overall goals for society and for the economy. It is a quality environment that's the basis of society and economy, and without that we will not have quality air to breathe, good water to drink and good livelihoods. And so, as noted yesterday during our intervention on the evaluation of the global strategy, natural World Heritage sites need to be seen as more than just refuges for wildlife, but as life support systems, places that if we lose them, well, we lose our future. And the paradox really here is to look at the long term and the need for long-term development and choices that are about the long-term interests of our children and short-term decisions in a window of 3 to 5 years. In terms of concrete follow-up, I'd just like to mention 4 points, I think. which is what we are doing practically in the region to work. The first is investing in our regional network and developing within IUCN's offices within Africa, particularly the regional offices in Nairobi and in Burkina Faso, both focal points and growing programs of work. And Yusuf Diedu, one of our 2 focal points in Africa, was with us at an earlier part of this meeting. The second, to follow up on the action that's been identified to improve the representation of African heritage, is to work, and if I can wave my leaflet around, to work with the African World Heritage Fund, in particular to look at the gaps that remain in Africa for World Heritage listing. We've developed a brochure which proposes a range of gaps that have been identified, and we've been engaging in what I think has been a very successful upstream process, training those people that are directly involved in nominations to, well before the nominations are put forward, on what is required in a nomination, how to develop the appropriate management plans, etc. And I think what's really pleasing is to see that a number of the nominations that have somehow been touched by that process are now coming into the system for evaluation. So we have nominations in Guinea-Bissau, in Lesotho, in Namibia, and an extension in Kenya that will be considered in the cycle for the committee to look at next year. We're also trying to strengthen our overall networks of expertise. So we have staff, but we have experts that support this process, who are the people that undertake evaluation missions and monitoring activities. And with the support, in particular, of Switzerland and also the Marva Foundation, we've been running a number of courses with a priority in Africa to reach out to African expertise and ensure that our own networks are much more diverse and representative than they were before. I really regret that in terms of timing our delegation, it has to be me making this presentation instead of one of the people that has been engaged in that process from within Africa. And lastly, I'd just like to note and acknowledge African Nature, the program that was mentioned in the initial presentation, within which we're pleased to be able to align our existing work that I've just been referring to in Africa within a much bigger cooperative program to ensure that IUCN, the World Heritage Center, and the African World Heritage Fund are working in the same direction and in a coordinated way. I think we have a very good team spirit that's enabled that to take place. And with support that we have from the Marva Foundation, with support secured by UNESCO from the Government of Flanders, and with the support that the African World Heritage Fund is bringing forward, to work out how we put together over the next 2 years a program of work that will make for a much bigger long-term program on African natural heritage, and something which is integrated fully with the broader work for African heritage in general, recognizing that for us, for the other advisory bodies, and I think for the Centre, but particularly in Africa for practitioners, also the link between natural heritage and cultural heritage is not something we should see as about two different schools of work, but something is intimately linked and something which we have to bring together to make for much better long-term conservation. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much. So, dear colleagues, floor is open. Who wants to take the floor? Senegal, floor is yours.
Merci, Madame la Présidente. Je voudrais commencer par remercier le Centre du patrimoine mondial et le leader de cette évaluation, le Dr Georges Abongou, pour le travail extraordinaire qu'ils ont réalisé. Et dans des temps extrêmement réduits, et bien sûr avec eux, tous ceux qui nous ont aidés et tous ceux qui ont participé à ce travail remarquable. Je voudrais, avec votre permission, faire un certain nombre d'observations basiques. La première observation qui me paraît très importante, elle apparaît au niveau des principes et questions régionales à la page 3 du document. Il parle de domestiquer la Convention. Vous savez que dans l'histoire, domestiquer, c'est amener un animal sauvage à vivre auprès des hommes. C'est un peu comme si la Convention est un peu rebelle. Je comprends le sens de ce qu'il veut dire. Et c'est une question extrêmement importante. Je l'ai posée hier. Au niveau de cette Convention, il y a des entendus, des choses sur lesquelles tout le monde s'entend. Il y a des malentendus, des choses sur lesquelles nous avons des visions complètement différentes. Et il y a aussi des sous-entendus. Il faudrait qu'on travaille à harmoniser et à faire de telle sorte que les intrants nuisibles du patrimoine soient compris par tout le monde. C'est une question
très importantes et je pense qu'on ne peut pas faire l'impasse d'un débat, y compris d'ailleurs dans les questions de langue africaine. C'est très important. La seconde question qu'ils ont posée, qui est aussi, à mon avis, tout aussi importante, c'est les questions de conflit et de post-conflit. Mais vous accepterez avec moi que conflit et post-conflit, on est dans le curatif. Il faut qu'on essaie aussi d'être un peu dans le préventif. Et je pense que dans les questions de gestion des sites, on peut raisonnablement réfléchir sur les risques de conflit ou pas conflit concernant chaque site et essayer d'être un peu en avant dans la prévention. La troisième question que je voulais soulever, qui est très importante aussi pour nous, c'est les questions financières liées à la gestion du patrimoine africain. Et je voudrais faire une observation spécifique sur l'intervention de l'ICROM. Nous pensons tous que le TCHEDA et l'EPA ont fait des choses importantes pour le patrimoine africain. Mais je pense qu'aujourd'hui, là où s'élaborent les savoirs, là où se font les formations sérieuses sur le patrimoine africain, c'est dans les universités. Si vous voulez qu'on sorte de la situation de dépendance, il faudrait essayer de voir comment appuyer, comment aider, comment faire des échanges interuniversitaires, afin qu'il y ait une véritable inculturation de la culture du patrimoine dans les curricula universitaires africains. Je ne partage absolument pas le point de vue de l'ICROM, qui consiste à dire qu'au niveau des pays africains, il faudrait trouver les ressources pour soutenir deux organisations qui sont à la limite privées. Je n'ai rien contre, je pense que l'EPA et l'ICROM peuvent continuer à jouer des rôles, mais il n'est pas exact de défendre dans cette institution aujourd'hui que c'est là où s'élaborent les formations, les connaissances et ce qu'il y a de mieux sur le patrimoine africain. Ce n'est pas exact. Aujourd'hui, c'est dans les universités et des institutions assimilées qu'il y a des ressources humaines pour faire cela. L'EPA et le TCHEDA n'ont pas de ressources humaines pour mener ce travail-là. On peut faire les inventaires, on peut faire les constats basiques. C'est dans les universités et d'autres institutions qu'il y a des ressources humaines capables de faire le travail. Si nous voulons aller de l'avant, si on veut aider l'Afrique, ce sont ces institutions-là qu'il faut aujourd'hui supporter, qu'il faut aider. Le TCHEDA et l'EPA peuvent se requalifier pour faire autre chose, mais elles sont incapables, elles n'ont pas la capacité de faire la formation parce qu'elles n'en ont pas le personnel. Et cela, je voudrais que notre communauté, notre convention le comprenne. Je n'ai absolument rien contre, mais la réalité aujourd'hui en Afrique, c'est que l'élaboration des connaissances se fait en dehors de TCHEDA et de l'EPA. Je vous remercie.
Thank you very much. Mali, floor is yours.
Merci, Madame la Présidente. Madame la Présidente, on voudrait intervenir autour d'un certain nombre de points. D'abord, on se réjouit du brillant rapport présenté par le Centre du patrimoine mondial et le groupe Afrique. Et on voudrait, et l'ICROM également, et on voudrait un peu réagir en faisant des suggestions. La première suggestion, c'est que, Madame la Présidente, nous nous félicitons de l'inscription d'une formation intitulée « Situation de pré-conflit ». Et comme notre collègue du Sénégal a eu à le dire, on souhaiterait que cette formation couvre les différentes situations, la situation avant le conflit et post-conflit et après le conflit. Et cette situation viendra également, nous en sommes sûrs, contribuer à consolider des structures ou bien des biens du patrimoine mondial qui sont actuellement en péril et détériorés. Le second point, Madame la Présidente, c'est par rapport à l'EPA au TCHEDA. Bien, nous sommes d'avis que ce ne sont pas les institutions qui existent en Afrique, mais il faudrait reconnaître les progrès accomplis par ces institutions. Au niveau de l'EPA et du TCHEDA, il y a eu des renforcements des capacités, il y a eu également, avec bien sûr le Fonds du patrimoine mondial pour l'Afrique, il y a eu également une amélioration du nombre des sites africains sur la liste du patrimoine mondial. Tout cela, c'est grâce aux efforts faits au niveau de ces différentes institutions. Mais à côté de ces institutions, nous sommes également pour l'accompagnement des institutions des États partis. notre excellente ministre de la Culture m'a rappelé qu'actuellement, il y a des réflexions en cours pour la création d'un institut, d'une structure africaine en charge du patrimoine. Ce sont là vraiment des actions à encourager. Mon dernier point, Madame le ministre, c'est par rapport à un point qui a été soulevé dans le rapport, c'est le développement durable. Par rapport à ce développement durable, Madame la Présidente, nous avons des problèmes. Parce qu'au niveau de chaque site africain, qu'il y a une découverte de mines, il y a un problème entre la nécessité de se développer et le devoir de préserver et de maintenir le patrimoine. Nous devons maintenir certainement cet équilibre, mais avec, si vous voulez, des pays pauvres, avec des communautés qui deviennent de plus en plus exigeantes, nous avons aussi également un droit au développement. Donc nous souhaiterions, l'État parti du Mali souhaite que ce problème soit débattu de nouveau, pour que l'on trouve une solution à l'équilibre, la nécessité de maintenir un équilibre entre le développement et la préservation du patrimoine. Je vous remercie.
Thank you very much. South Africa, floor is yours.
Thank you, Madam Chair. We want to take the opportunity to thank the presenters for this extensive report, which indeed reflects what needs to be done in order to achieve some form of sustainability in dealing with our heritage. South African delegation, Madam Chair, want to emphasize the need for synergies between this convention and other relevant conventions like the UNFCCC, the CBD, CITES, UNCCD, RAMSA, even, Madam Chair, the UNCSD, because the Rio +20 was discussing issues of sustainable development. It's not possible to detach this convention from others, because listening to the debates of the last week, Madam Chair, there were issues that we need to reflect and talk on those synergies. Another one, Madam Chair, to also achieve some credibility. Instead of us, when we make comments, using gut feels or being emotional about issues, the use of relevant science platforms by the advisory bodies is fundamental, so that when we argue issues here, not to be too technical, but should be supported by some form of credible science. One chair can think of the new platform which is discussed under biodiversity, the IPBES, the IPCC, which is known under climate change, can assist even on the cultural science. Those can assist in making sure that whatever is brought here is supported by some form of credible science. There are also emerging issues, Madam Chair, in the periodic report, especially issues around governance. One thing we want to share with this committee, we took a decision in South Africa that when there's a proposal for a dossier to nominate a site, there should be a guideline. Because some of the nominations, because of the way we're structured as South African government, we have active NGO community who sometimes would like South Africa to take some nominations. We have proposed a guideline that should be upfront, identify who will be the management authority for the site once the site is inscribed here. What are the available financial resources to make sure the site is managed effectively? If there's private sector involved and private landowners, there should be an MOU upfront which is signed to say we agree to the nomination of the site. The guideline also includes land tenure issues. Are there issues of land claims? Are there issues of settling those claims so that there's a clear understanding around that? The whole land tenure system and also the perceived land uses, so that we don't get caught by surprise as a committee to say the site nominated 2 years ago, all of a sudden, there has to be a big project to happen. But in doing so, when state parties reflect those pressures, it should not prejudice the nomination, because we need to be honest about future plans. Therefore, we are cautioning here, Madam Chair, that developing such a guideline should not lead to a situation whereby state party discloses all the perceived development to say the site cannot be inscribed. Therefore, Madam Chair, I think the issue of emerging issues can change the discourse in this committee. Thank you, Madam Chair. We'll leave it there.
Thank you very much. Jomini, floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair, and thank you to let me participate in this discussion. I would like to thank IUCN and the World Heritage Center for their reports. I think they are extremely important, and we have to not only listen to them today, but reread them and think what we can do as an effect. One of the things I think the capacity training or post or pre-conflict things, maybe things that are already done, for example, by universities or foundations or so we only have to kind of click in the World Heritage issue into it. I fully agree to what was said by our South African distinguished colleague. I think this is a best practice, because the biggest problem we always have, even in my country with a federal structure, is the structured approach, the question of which ministries are responsible for what areas and how can they work together. And that doesn't make it easier. The national commissions may be able to play a role in there, but not all of them do consider that this is an issue for them, and not all of them have the proper funding. On the IUCN report, to which I fully subscribe, I would like to add one sentence. Protection of world heritage is the wisest thing to do as far as natural heritage is concerned. It may not be appealing for people who have to feed their people first, but it definitely pays off, because this is not only for the animals to be beautiful and a decoration, it is also preserving a treasure chest box for future science and research. We got many patents in Germany studying environmental structures, even the flight of insects, or the way a gecko can walk up a glass wall or something like that, but not everybody can do that. And I think Africa, which is strongly developing their universities now, they will need these treasure chests in the future. So it's a very, very good, it's also an investment to protect nature. It's a very good investment in the future. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Qatar, floor is yours.
شكرا سيدة الرئيسة. نود أن نشكر الجهات التي أعدت هذا التقرير، وأثني على كلام إخواننا في السنغال ومالي الذي ذكر بالأمس أيضا. يعني الأخوة في السنغال يذكرون بأهمية العمل الجامعي، فيا حبذا فعلا لو يتم دعم هذا الجانب من الأبحاث الجامعية في أفريقيا. نحن لدينا مثل في اللغة العربية يقول: أهل مكة أدرى بشعابها. يعني أهل المدينة هم أدرى، وأهل سانت بطرسبورغ أدرى بشوارعها. يعني يعني نثق في قدرة الأفارقة على تقديم مثل هذه المقترحات والعمل على الحفاظ على تراثهم. زميلنا من مالي ذكر أيضا أهمية التنمية وتعارضها أحيانا مع الحفاظ على التراث، وهذا أيضا هذه مشكلة كبيرة تواجه الحكومات، حيث أن الحكومة مطلوب منها أن تنمي قدراتها وتنمي النواحي الاجتماعية والاقتصادية لشعوبها، وهذا واجب عليها، ولكن تواجه أيضا في الجانب الآخر بأنه يجب الحفاظ على التراث. فهناك يعني هناك وسط يجب أن يعني يوجد بين الطرفين. نعتقد بأن من واجب اللجنة أن تساند القارة الأفريقية في جهودها للحفاظ على التراث وكذلك أيضا في جهودها للتنمية. شكرا.
Thank you very much. Colombia, floor is yours.
Gracias, señora presidenta. Como señalaba ayer la señora Nuria Sanz del Centro de Patrimonio Mundial, los vínculos entre América y África son innegables. Recordemos que cerca de 20 millones de personas de origen africano fueron trasladadas a América en el más horrendo de los viajes que haya emprendido la humanidad. Quería recordar que el centro de categoría 2, creado en Río de Janeiro, tiene una clarísima vocación para trabajar con los países de América Latina, con los países de África y con los países lusoparlantes. Entonces, en ese sentido, y en nombre de nuestra región, yo quisiera poner a disposición del continente africano pues ese centro de categoría 2, Lucio Costa, en la ciudad de Río de Janeiro, para ofrecer todo lo que tiene que ver con formación, con capacidades, con intercambio de buenas experiencias y buenas prácticas de nuestro continente con el continente africano. Muchas gracias.
Muchas gracias, Su Excelencia. Senegal, do you want once more the floor? No?
Juste pour aller dans le même sens que mon compatriote, en insistant davantage sur une meilleure intégration des instituts de formation spécialisés sur le patrimoine naturel africain. Je voudrais insister davantage sur une meilleure implication de l'école de faune de Garoua qui développe un certain nombre de modules, surtout sur les nouveaux défis qui se posent à la conservation du patrimoine naturel africain. C'est des défis que l'UICN s'est largement appesanti dans son intervention. Merci.
Thank you very much. Mexico, floor is yours.
Perdone, señora presidenta, pero creo que Barbados había pedido la palabra antes que yo. Ok, señora, yo solamente quería decirle al comité que retraer la atención a un tema que mencionó la delegación de Sudáfrica y que pocas veces hemos reflexionado en esta sesión, que es el tema de las sinergias de esta convención con otras sinergias. En el caso que nos ocupa en este tema, ha quedado claro que los esfuerzos y los desafíos para poder conservar patrimonio mundial está ligado a la aplicación de otras convenciones como CITES, como Ramsar y otras. Esto puede aplicar para todas las regiones, entonces quería dejar en récord la reflexión de que no estamos arando en el mar en esta convención, no tenemos que empezar de cero siempre, sino la plena aplicación de todos nuestros compromisos internacionales, si se ven de manera conjunta, pueden ayudar a que una u otra convención cumpla sus objetivos de mejor manera o con más facilidad. Gracias, señora presidenta.
Thank you very much. I will, of course, give the floor, but after all members of the committee make the statement. Mali, you want once more to take the floor? Please, floor is yours.
Okay. Merci, Madame la Présidente. Le Mali ne s'oppose pas à ce qui a été proposé par notre collègue ami Bokoum, qui est professeur d'université, donc qui sait de quoi il parle. L'EPA et le TIEDA ont fait un travail remarquable dans le domaine du renforcement des capacités des professionnels africains. Et le grand mérite, ça a été aussi de mettre ensemble les gestionnaires des sites en Afrique. Mais cela n'empêche pas la création dans les universités africaines de programmes de formation. Et le Mali est disposé même à créer, comme l'a dit, suggéré Madame, un institut du patrimoine qui aura pour vocation, entre autres, un programme autour des questions de gestion du patrimoine pré-conflit, pendant le conflit et post-conflit. Et l'autre aspect important sur lequel nous insistons, c'est que sur le programme de développement. L'UICN a parlé de mettre en corrélation la biodiversité et la diversité culturelle. C'est extrêmement important en Afrique. Et tous les programmes de coopération pour le développement, de notre point de vue, doivent prendre en compte cet aspect-là. C'est-à-dire la gestion du patrimoine doit être une partie intégrante des programmes de coopération. On le voit dans certains pays, le Sénégal par exemple, les objectifs du millénaire pour le développement, je sais qu'ils ont beaucoup profité pour travailler pour la préparation de dossiers de classement des sites qui viennent d'être inscrits. Et il y a aussi au Mali le programme d'appui pour le développement économique et social et culturel de l'Union européenne, qui est un programme très important qui soutient le patrimoine au Mali, notamment avec la création de musées, 3 musées dans 3 régions différentes du Mali. C'est des aspects très importants que je voudrais soulever. Entre autres, je voudrais aussi ajouter que nous avons introduit un amendement peut-être qui sera discuté concernant l'implication des États africains, parce que sans ça, on ne peut pas gérer de façon durable le patrimoine en Afrique. Merci beaucoup.
Thank you very much. I see no other speakers from committee. I would like to give the floor to observers. Kenya, floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. Kenya would like to fully endorse the Africa Periodic Reporting that has just been submitted and the strategies elaborated therein, in particular issues to deal with community involvement, capacity and training. But for today, we would like to address ourselves to the issue of capacity building and training. The report that has just been submitted in conjunction with what ICROM gave in the strategy for training and capacity building yesterday, and the eloquent speeches that have been made by the current ICROM DG as well as his predecessor. Kenya is one of the hosting institutions of the 2 training institutions that we've talked about, EPA and CHEDA. These institutions have been painstakingly built up by African heritage institutions together with support from the World Heritage Center, ICROM in particular, and lately Africa World Heritage Center. And we are very happy that both the World Heritage Center as well as the Africa World Heritage Fund do use these 2 institutions to implement some of their training programs. Madam Chair, while I do not want to engage into discussions and debate about the role of these 2 institutions, EPA and CHEDA, vis-a-vis universities in Africa, I think it's important that we make it clear that both CHEDA and EPA have no intention of ever awarding degrees and diplomas. Their work is really to give short-term, hands-on skills to African heritage professionals that will help them in their day-to-day work. Their work is really not to ensure that we give degrees to the heritage professionals. Madam Chair, as has been said, these 2 institutions that have done a lot in terms of capacity building in the continent are currently facing very serious financial crises as well as having problems looking into the future. For us in Kenya, and with the permission of my ambassador, we feel that these 2 institutions need further recognition from the World Heritage Center as well as the World Heritage Committee. During the discussion of Category 2 centers, I did hear the director of the World Heritage Center, Mr. Kishore, state that really there has never been an application from either CHEDA or EPA for consideration for such kind of status. Kenya would be happy to spearhead this kind of initiative with the support of the center as well as the committee. Moreover, Madam Chair, these 2 institutions can also help with the 2003 and 2005 conventions in terms of training and capacity building, not just the World Heritage 1972. So hopefully with the support of the ADG Culture and ADG Africa, the World Heritage Center and the other convention implementers, we would be able to, Kenya as a country, as a state party, would be happy to submit this kind of a proposal to the center and to the committee. Thank you very much, Madam Chair.
Thank you very much. Barbados, floor is yours.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Barbados is extremely pleased to have heard the report on the African periodic reporting, the second cycle of it, and to note with appreciation many of the developments which have occurred over the last period, synergies with which we do find can apply in terms of the Caribbean region. One particular point which was not stressed here, but which I'm very happy to see represented in the report of the African region, is in relation to Small Island Developing States program. And I note that there is active interest in developing strategy there. What I would be interested in, Madam Chair, is signaling the interest from the Caribbean in seeking linkages and convergences between this region, as we are doing with the Pacific, because I do think, certainly on the cultural level and perhaps on the natural level, there may be cooperative relations that could develop. So I'm very happy to see it included, and we would want to ensure that there is considerable development of linkages between the two. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you very much. I see the other speaker, Angola. Floor is yours.
Merci, Madame la Présidente, pour la parole que vous me donnez. Je voulais réagir très rapidement au rapport présenté par les Centres du patrimoine mondial, section Afrique, et également le travail qui a été fait en coordination avec le docteur Abongo. Donc nous parlons du renforcement de capacités ou la production des capacités au niveau de l'Afrique. Je pense qu'il y a un groupe de pays en Afrique qui ne parlent ni français ni portugais. Donc je suis angolais, donc je parle portugais en principe. Donc une attention devrait également être accordée à ces groupes de pays dans ces programmes stratégiques qui viennent d'être conçus, donc 2012-2017. Je sais que sur le continent, il y a des centres de ressources qui travaillent pour les pays anglophones et les pays francophones, mais il n'y a pas un centre spécialisé uniquement pour des pays lusophones. Là, je ne propose pas la création d'un centre pour des pays lusophones, mais je voulais juste attirer l'attention de toutes ces organisations qui travaillent sur le continent afin qu'ils puissent avoir une attention particulière pour ces groupes de pays. Notre collègue de la Colombie a parlé du centre de catégorie 2 de Rio, qui évidemment va établir des liens de partenariat avec l'Afrique pour développer justement des programmes de renforcement de capacité pour des pays lusophones. Je pense que ce genre de programme ne peut être fait qu'en coopération avec des centres de ressources qui existent sur le continent, afin que des résultats significatifs soient produits. Et je partage également l'avis que nous devons avoir une ouverture vers les universités si nous voulons justement produire des savoirs et des capacités au niveau du continent. Je parle en conséquence des causes parce qu'on a commencé cette réflexion au niveau également de l'université Agostinho Neto en Angola, où on essaye d'introduire des cursus petit à petit sur le patrimoine, afin que nous puissions localement avoir une expertise et permettre à ces jeunes étudiants également de prendre part à des différentes formations qui ont lieu au niveau du continent. Voilà en bref la réaction que je voulais faire par rapport à ces programmes qui nous ont été présentés. Merci, Madame la Présidente.
Thank you very much. World Heritage Center, floor is yours. And then we move to the draft decision.
Merci, Madame la Présidente. Je voudrais apporter deux clarifications sur les commentaires qui ont été faits par les distingués membres du comité, notamment sur la question des partenariats pour le renforcement des capacités. Je voudrais signaler que ce plan d'action qui vous a été proposé par le groupe des États parties reprend essentiellement en compte les recommandations et résultats des différents rapports qui ont été soumis par les États, et notamment sur cette question, et que de manière particulière, contrairement au premier rapport périodique, un accent a été beaucoup plus mis sur la nécessité, effectivement, en plus de soutenir les efforts reconnus des deux institutions de formation, dont l'un est en train de travailler pour devenir un centre de catégorie 2 un peu plus tard, de travailler sur la reconnaissance des curricula et les opportunités de formation par le biais des universités, et que cette question sera tout à fait prise en compte dans les années à venir. Nous envisageons réunir l'ensemble des États parties africains pour discuter de façon plus ample sur ces questions des renforcements des capacités. Le docteur Georges Abungu voudrait rajouter, Madame la Présidente, également un petit point.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just very, very quickly. I'll start with the issue of the language. I think that that is a pertinent question in the continent, and I know that the two centers, EPA and CHEDA, have been addressing this by organizing, particularly for the Portuguese-speaking countries. But I think that is something that the committee may need to look at very, very keenly, because I know that's something that is always talked about. So we appreciate that. On the issue of the training, just to add on to what has been said, Madam Chair, we are very democratic in Africa. We usually say that we sit down under a tree and we talk until we agree on something. We never vote as such, but we just talk. In this case, I think there are divergent views. Necessarily, it is not that one particular training system should replace another one. So it's not a question of the training institutions being replaced by universities. I think that is where the disagreement comes in. I don't call it disagreement. I think it's just a discussion. So what we are saying here and what the periodic report says is that in addition to the training that has been clarified by Kenya, which is provided by the two institutions, we will now also stress very much on the universities. It is not a question of that, and anybody who fears that resources may not be enough to share between the two should just have no fear. That pattern is quite okay. Lastly, Madam Chair, I think that the periodic report has also, and the discussion that we've had from the committee, has highlighted some very important pertinent issues, mostly on the issue of development and conservation. On the issues of synergies, I think that has come out. Maybe we can look at how we can come back with a recommendation on that. And also on the issue of traditional management systems that I have not had people discussing, but I just wanted to flash it up, that Africa, I think, has come very clearly on this. And lastly, on the issue of strengthening the management at management level. I think these are some of the things that we sitting here have been able to capture and would like to enrich the report. Thank you, Madam Chair. The rest I leave for the committee. Thank you.
Thank you very much. The debate is finished. So we move now to the draft decision of the document, document WHC 12/36.com/10D.4. And now I will give floor to reporter to say about amendments which were received.
Thank you, Madam Chairperson. The committee must adopt the proposed draft decision 36.com/10D. We have received so far amendments from the delegations of South Africa and Mali, basically on paragraphs 4, paragraph 10, and a new paragraph proposed by Mali, which will be paragraph 10 as well. Maybe, Madam Chairperson, you may want to proceed with the adoption of paragraphs 1, 2, 3, and then we go with the specific drafting of paragraph 4.
Thank you. I suppose that we will go paragraph by paragraph, yes. So, are you agree to adopt the paragraph 1, 2, 3 of the draft decision? I see no objection. Adopted. So, paragraph 4. You have the floor, Rapporteur.
Paragraph 4, as amended, takes note of the results of the meeting on development activities and resource extraction in and around World Heritage properties in Africa, and here comes the amendment, and requests, I think we need to add an S, other regions to join Africa in discussing and reflecting on the same subject with a view of coming with, I think we need a similar approach, with a similar approach.
Switzerland, floor is yours.
Merci Madame la Présidente. Concernant ce paragraphe, nous aurions souhaité avoir une information quant aux résultats de la réunion. Ont-ils été distribués? En avons-nous connaissance? Et on parle d'une approche similaire dans l'amendement sud-africain. Est-ce que nous sommes bien informés pour prendre cette décision?
Thank you very much, Germany.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. Unfortunately, we are of the same opinion. We can't make a reference to a report that we all don't know yet. Sorry.
South Africa, please, floor is yours.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Perhaps the Center will respond to what is in the report. Just for South Africa, just to say, we've listened, in each session we listen to the same issues of development and the challenge and the perceptions around the so-called extractive activities. All we are saying, this thing is not only unique in Africa. We've seen a similar thing in other regions. We are grappling with this issue in order to guide this committee how we deal with this moving forward. We are being proactive here. Therefore, we want other regions to debate same, so that this committee cannot be informed by what is happening in Africa. Therefore, that's the essence of it. Therefore, for us proposing this, it's not about discussing the report, it's to discuss the approach so that perhaps in the next session, we can be able to engage with this issue and learn from other regions. That's the issue, Madam Chair. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Senegal, floor is yours.
Merci Madame la Présidente. Je pense que c'est une question sur laquelle nous allons certainement revenir. Et je voudrais faire une petite intervention en m'appuyant sur nos amis français. Vous comprendrez ces vers-là dans la plaine rase, sous la nuit sans étoiles, d'une épaisseur et d'une obscurité d'encre, un homme suivait seul la grande route de marché à Mostou. Il marchait d'un pas allongé, grelottant sous le coton aminci de sa veste. Vous avez reconnu certainement Étienne Lantier dans Germinal, l'homme de la mine de charbon. Il y a 2 jours, chers collègues, nous avons inscrit au patrimoine de l'humanité les vestiges miniers. Des vestiges miniers qui sont des synthèses de joie, de peine, de sacrifice, de drames de toutes sortes, mais aussi d'accomplissement de l'espèce humaine dans sa mission éternelle vers le développement et le mieux-être. Aujourd'hui, vous avez la chance en Europe d'inscrire le patrimoine mondial dans des territoires déjà aménagés. L'Europe est largement aménagée depuis la révolution industrielle. L'Afrique et d'autres parties du monde sont des territoires presque vierges qui vont être aménagés. La question qui se pose aujourd'hui, qui se pose à notre convention, c'est que le débat entre sauvegarde du patrimoine et aménagement du territoire est devenu incontournable. C'est ce que nous avons essayé très modestement d'initier en Afrique. On a demandé le compte rendu de cette réunion. Je pense que nos collègues du centre vont faire ce compte rendu-là. Le débat sera certainement ouvert aujourd'hui, mais il sera long. Il est nécessaire qu'il le soit parce que nous devons absolument concilier sauvegarde du patrimoine, aménagement du territoire, parce que cette convention-là, ce n'est pas une convention du passé, c'est une convention pour l'homme en devenir. Merci.
Germany.
Thank you, Madam Chair. We certainly welcome the African countries to start this discussion, and we welcome a proactive approach on this issue, this is for sure. And we are fully fine with the first half of the amendment which is there. The only thing we have difficulties with, and my Swiss colleague pointed that out clearly, that we have difficulties in adopting a decision saying with a view to coming up with a similar approach, as we don't know the approach which is put out in the results of the meeting. So we might stop the sentence at the comma and just skip the second half. I think we are fine with this, and then the discussion can go on with all regions of the world. I think this is an appropriate approach.
Dear colleagues, so it seems to me it's too much. I first of all give the floor to France, and then we try to go on. France, floor is yours.
Merci beaucoup, Madame la Présidente. Je veux simplement appuyer la déclaration du Sénégal. Nous voyons bien que depuis le début de ce comité, c'est le grand sujet et que nous ne pourrons pas y échapper. Je ne veux pas intervenir sur les modifications du texte, mais c'est quelque chose de fondamental pour la réflexion de l'UNESCO et je pense pour l'avenir de l'UNESCO et du Comité du patrimoine. Je crois que cette réflexion doit être un de nos objectifs majeurs. Je vous remercie.
Switzerland, please, floor is yours.
Merci Madame la Présidente. Nous comprenons effectivement les arguments avancés par l'Afrique du Sud et le Sénégal, et le débat ici ne porte pas sur la question d'éviter ou de ne pas avoir un tel débat. Au contraire, il faut le tenir. Simplement, c'est qu'à ce stade de nos discussions, de l'avancée des travaux, il nous paraît prématuré de prendre note de résultats que nous ne connaissons pas. Et à cet égard, je proposerais que la formulation soit « prend note de la tenue de la réunion consacrée, de la tenue de la réunion consacrée aux activités ». Et pourquoi pas, je me joins à la proposition allemande, et pourquoi pas envisager d'ajouter un élément qui dirait que le point soit traité lors d'une prochaine session, ou donner quelque chose qui permettrait d'avancer dans la discussion ici. Merci.
So, Algeria.
Merci, Madame la Présidente. Nous ne pouvons ne pas appuyer l'intervention du représentant du Sénégal et nous suivons donc cette proposition de l'Afrique du Sud de demander aux autres régions de se joindre à l'Afrique pour discuter et réfléchir sur le même sujet et aussi de prendre bien note des résultats de la réunion consacrée aux activités, donc sans changement. Merci, Madame la Présidente.
Thank you very much. South Africa.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Madam Chair, we want to get close to the Switzerland proposal. Perhaps we are asking too much to say results. Perhaps we should be saying, take note of the discussions by Africa. We are also willing, Madam Chair, to also amend the similar to say common, so that we make everyone comfortable to say, we discussed this in Africa, but we want this thing to be a global discussion, so that we can see similar opportunities and similar challenges on the same issue. Thank you, Madam Chair.
India, floor is yours.
Thank you, Madam Chair. We agree with Senegal and Algeria that it is an important issue to be discussed at the global level, but we would recommend what has just been proposed by South Africa to include it as the discussions. Thank you.
Thank you very much. It seems to me that nobody rejects it. It's a very important issue. Germany.
I'm sorry, Madam. I would love to know them, but I don't know them. And I cannot take note of something that I don't know. And nobody in this room knows it except the Africans. And I think it's a perfect thing that we discuss it together. So I would definitely support what South Africa has amended at the end, which is now not properly reflected, with a view to coming up with a common approach. This, I think, is a very good proposal. However, I cannot take note of discussions or results that I do not know.
So, dear colleagues, I give the last two floors, and I close. Please gather and make this paragraph together, not like now with everybody in screen. So, Switzerland, please, floor is yours.
Merci, Madame la Présidente. Permettez-moi d'insister. Enfin, je rejoins ce que vient de dire l'ambassadeur d'Allemagne. Nous ne pouvons pas prendre en compte des discussions ou des résultats dont nous n'avons pas connaissance. Donc je crois que nous reconnaissons l'importance de mener ce débat, nous reconnaissons l'importance qu'il se passe au niveau mondial, nous reconnaissons l'importance que le comité en discute. Néanmoins, on ne peut pas prendre note à ce stade de quelques éléments concrets dont nous n'avons pas connaissance. Donc je maintient notre amendement de la tenue de la réunion. Merci, Madame la Présidente.
So, maybe, Serbia, floor is yours.
Merci, Madame. Je crois que c'est quand même nécessaire que certains pays prennent aussi la parole. Nous croyons que c'est un sujet qui est important pour tous, que c'est quelque chose d'intérêt mondial, comme vous avez dit tout à l'heure. Nous supportons pleinement la position et proposition d'Algérie, aussi bien comme Sénégal et surtout l'amendement, le dernier amendement proposé par l'Afrique du Sud. Et quand il s'agit de tenir compte, au moins ma délégation ne comprend pas ça comme être d'accord auparavant, mais comme tenir compte. Merci.
Reporter, please take the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chairperson. I will try to help you. I think there are two, in order to get in agreement with the text, I think that there are two things here. First, the committee will basically take note of the discussions carried out by Africa on this subject. And by taking note, it doesn't mean that the committee is subscribing the results of this meeting. So I may request a wording that says, takes note of, as proposed by South Africa, of the discussion carried out by Africa on development activities and resource extraction in and around World Heritage properties in Africa. And maybe, if the committee wants to reflect more on this subject, to have a separate paragraph by saying recommends other regions to join Africa in discussing and reflecting on the same subject with a view to coming up with a common approach at a later meeting of the committee. Something more general, which opened the floor and gives you the opportunity to reflect on this subject broadly.
Germany, floor is yours.
I think our rapporteur, as always, is brilliant. I have one point that remains. Shouldn't we say by countries in Africa or by African member states? Because we don't have a subject here like Africa, as well as we do not have one like Europe. So by some African state parties or in Africa, discussions in Africa. Would that suit our colleagues?
Please, South Africa, take the floor.
Chair, we would like to cooperate here. It's not some. It's all of us in Africa discuss this. Therefore, there's no some. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So, reporter, please reflect this.
Maybe, Madam Chairperson, we could say carry out in the African region. Does that suit you?
Switzerland, floor is yours.
Merci Madame la Présidente. Si l'emploi ou une référence aux discussions doit être faite, nous prenons note que des discussions ont eu lieu dans la région Afrique consacrées aux activités. Nous n'en connaissons pas la teneur, mais nous notons que des discussions ont eu lieu. Voilà. Donc, de notre point de vue, il faut que ce soit bien spécifié. Merci.
Thank you very much, but exactly what it is said in this paragraph, it seems to me. So, give the last variant, please, reporter.
So the second part, which is a new paragraph now, says, recommends other regions to join Africa in discussing and reflecting on the same subject with a view to coming up with a common approach at a later meeting of the committee.
I would like to read the previous one.
And the previous one, sorry. Takes note of the discussions carried out in the African region relating to development activities and resource extraction in and around World Heritage properties in Africa. I guess that the comment of the delegation of Switzerland had to do with the French version, but I would like to ask them if, as it is drafted out, it suits you.
Switzerland.
Merci Madame la Présidente. En français, le libellé nous convient, mais pas en anglais. C'est take notes that discussions have been carried out, something like that. That discussions.
That discussions.
It's adapting English and French.
That word. Were carried out, or having carried out.
Thank you very much.
It's not correct. It's not correct.
India, please.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Let me try and rise beyond the semantics. It's the fact that important and relevant discussions, these are important and relevant, irrespective of the content, the outcome, and the distinguished delegate of South Africa said that this is an ongoing work which needs to be carried forward. The issue really here is that they are extremely important and relevant. And I'm not sure that anybody would actually oppose that, irrespective of what those discussions are, that important and relevant discussions carried out by the countries of Africa or by the African region, and I leave that to the wider sense of what has been achieved, should be, have been carried out relating to development activities in and around World Heritage properties in Africa. Recommends other regions to join Africa in discussing and reflecting on the same subject. So please let us not simply limit it to taking note of the fact of discussions. We're not asking for you to take a view on what the outcome of those discussions were, just that they are of importance and relevance, the fact of the discussions. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you very much. But in this two paragraph, it seems to me it reflects completely what it was discussed. What you said, and we took note on the amendments which have been done by Switzerland and Germany, and it seems to me South Africa agreed. So I don't see what we have more to add. Maybe some differences in French and English version, but you know, our translator will help us. So, Switzerland.
Merci Madame la Présidente. Encore une fois, nous qualifions la nature de ces discussions. Nous ne remettons pas en cause qu'elles aient eu lieu, qu'elles aient sur un thème important. Par contre, sur la qualité des discussions, nous ne pouvons pas nous prononcer. Et donc, à ce moment-là, les adjectifs devaient être mis à un autre endroit sur la problématique importante des activités de développement ou quelque chose comme ça. Mais de qualifier les discussions, non, nous ne pouvons pas vraiment en juger. Merci.
Thank you very much. But you know, we heard the intervention of the African the colleagues from our members of the committee from Africa. We heard the members of the African group that it was very important and relevant, and we can reflect it finally. And the fact that you didn't hear it or Germany didn't hear it don't say that it was not relevant and important. It seems to me that we have the full possibility to reflect it. Please, France, floor is yours.
Merci Madame la Présidente. C'est simplement pour dire que la France est entièrement d'accord avec votre point de vue et je vous remercie.
Germany, please, floor is yours.
Madam, you wouldn't like us to put takes note that irrelevant and unimportant discussions to have been carried out by European countries. So I think the same, we shouldn't say important and relevant here. We all know we want to come back to it, we want to discuss it, but we had an agreement, I think, with everybody, and I would ask with all respect my Indian colleague whether he could agree that we stick to the text as we have been working out, leaving this out. And I'm sure we're going to continue these discussions.
South Africa, please, floor is yours.
Chair, Africa always respects this committee. If there's a view that we're discussing something unimportant, we should be told. And they will accept perhaps that it was unimportant. It was very important to us as Africans who are informing the committee that we discuss an important matter. It might not be important to some countries, which is fine, we'll accept, we respect that, but they were important to us. We want to just to emphasize that, underscore that. Thank you.
Switzerland, please, floor is yours. So the last time I give the floor to you, and if you are not agree, please sit together and find the final solution. Please, Switzerland, floor is yours.
Merci Madame la Présidente. Je crois qu'avec un nouveau libelli, en tous les cas en français, qui dirait que d'importantes discussions ont eu lieu pour l'Afrique ou dans la région Afrique, voilà, d'importantes discussions. On qualifie la nature, enfin la dimension des discussions, mais pas le output. Merci.
So, please, reporter.
So this paragraph will read as follows. Takes note that important discussions have been carried out in the African region relating to development activities and resource extraction in and around World Heritage properties in Africa.
Dear colleagues, who has objections to this formulation of the paragraph? Serbia.
Je vous prie, Madame la Présidente, le texte anglais me semble ne pas correspondre au texte français qui a été amendé.
Please look to the text in French and English. No, it's okay. So, who has objection to adopt this paragraph like amended? I see nobody adopted. So, paragraph 5.
New paragraph 5 recommends other regions to join Africa in discussing and reflecting on the same subject with a view to coming up with a common approach at a later meeting of the committee.
Who has objection to adopt this paragraph? Germany.
Same thing again. I think we have to say recommends other state parties from other regions to join African state parties in discussing and reflecting.
South Africa? Is it reflect what you said?
The delegation says it's fine.
Okay. So, So who has objection to adopt this paragraph, new paragraph 5? I see no objection, adopted. So next paragraphs, 6, 7, 8, 9, there is no amendment, so can we adopt it from 6, 7, 8, 9, as it is in the original text? So I see no objection, adopted. Paragraph 10 is without changes too. So are any objection to adopt this paragraph? I see no objection, adopted. So paragraph 11, please, Rapporteur, take the floor.
Yes, as was mentioned by the distinguished delegate of Mali, they present an amendment of a new paragraph, which reads as follows. Requires the states parties of the African region to participate in the implementation of the 2012-2017 action plan, namely by producing sectorial plans and budgets before the end of October 2012. These sectorial plans should be drawn up in accordance with the management and conservation plan of the sites in order to protect the outstanding universal value.
Thank you very much. Maybe some clarification of Mali. What does it mean, sectorial plans? Please make this clarification.
Merci, Madame la Présidente. Le plan d'action élaboré comporte des lignes directrices générales avec des actions assorties d'actions. Donc, le plan sectoriel consiste pour chaque État, en fonction de ses réalités et de ses moyens, de sortir une planification à court, moyen et long terme pour la mise en œuvre de ce plan d'action. Parce que ça ne sert à rien d'élaborer un plan d'action et d'attendre que jusqu'à la prochaine production du rapport périodique pour vérifier qu'est-ce qui a été fait, qu'est-ce qui n'a pas été fait. Chaque État partie a la mission fondamentale de s'organiser à partir des orientations de ce plan d'action, donc de mener des actions dans le cadre de la gestion des sites du patrimoine mondial, mais également en dehors de cette gestion des sites, de voir les listes indicatives, etc. Merci, c'est dans cet esprit.
Thank you very much. So it was some mistake, not sectoral plans, but national plans. It's absolutely different. Now it's clear. So are any objection to adopt this new paragraph? Rapporteur, please.
Thank you, Madam Chairperson. Of course, I don't have any changes. Maybe it's just some suggestions of drafting to have consistency with our other decisions. Normally, we refer to properties instead of sites. And I think that in both versions, English and French, we will have to say in order to protect their outstanding universal value, if we are referring to the properties. So basically, that will be my suggestion, Madam Chair.
Thank you very much, as usual. Brilliant suggestions. So, are any objections to adopt this paragraph, new paragraph 11? I see no objections, so adopted. And we move on to the paragraph 12. We have small amendment. Yes, Germany, please, floor is yours.
I think the standard thing is interested state parties. We cannot oblige non-interested state parties.
South Africa, thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just to clarify the confusion, we talk about African states here. Therefore, they are all interested. Hence, we said there's no need to put interested. They are interested in this issue. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you very much. France.
Merci Madame la Présidente. Le soutien étant facultatif et volontaire, cette discussion, me semble-t-il, n'a pas lieu d'être. Je vous remercie.
Thank you very much. So, are any objection to adopt this paragraph as amended by South Africa to delete the interested state parties? Germany, please.
There are objections.
Okay, so I would put the question differently. Who supports the South Africa and French amendment? Or German amendment, please. India.
Madam Chair, only to support the South Africa.
We can't work. So, other countries, please take the floor. Serbia.
Tout à fait d'accord avec la position exprimée par l'ambassadeur de la France et on soutient pleinement, je crois vraiment qu'on ne devrait pas avoir de discussions pareilles.
Thank you very much. Estonia.
Thank you. We are quite happy with the South African amendment. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So, other countries, please quickly express your opinion. We have not to stop on such, on such items and Japan, please.
Okay, Madam Chair, the Japan, the echo the position given by the South Africa and the France. So thank you.
Thank you very much, Cambodia.
Madame la Présidente, nous soutenons l'amendement de l'Afrique du Sud. Merci.
Now I would like to ask Germany.
Madam Chair, I would like to raise one issue. My words were torn into another direction already earlier. This is standard terminology. We have to qualify with which state parties. And I think nobody can claim that we have not been participating, even in some other discussions, that we think this discussion is irrelevant or something. Like I said before, it's not, if I take out these judgments, it's not that I don't see it that way, it's that I doubt that we should judge at this point. So here, I think this is standard terminology to work with state parties. With whom? Where? This interested is not against South Africa or being interested or valuable. It is mentioning that it should be everybody around the world who can contribute and would like to contribute. I take it as an offer. The other thing to me is neutral. The pressure to get my country involved and maybe supporting is larger if I can say we are interested in this topic, so the interested ones are invited. I can go with the amendment, but I think that we are getting crazy here.
In this paragraph, they speak only capacity building regional program, and they speak about the countries of Africa. So please, South Africa.
Supported in the past.
Madam Chair, so I think it's still early in the week. Let us be clear, African, let's add African state parties. So be clear it's about Africa perhaps. Thank you.
Okay. So are anybody against such, maybe state parties concerned, because African state parties it's not possible to stop the discussion on such, matters. Excuse me, Germany. Please, floor is yours.
Thank you very much, and I apologize for taking it again. We understood that the African states are inviting to have a global discussion with other groups.
No, it's absolutely clearly stated. They speak about their regional capacity building program.
We have been contributing to that in the past, and we did the pre- and post-conflict things in the past. So if that is no longer wanted, fine, go ahead.
Excuse me, it's another point of this resolution is said about the other regions, but here precisely they speak about the African region. That's why South Africa proposed to take off these interested parties, because it concerns all African countries. So, please, let's go, as I see the majority support the South African amendment, so let's go along with this amendment. And I would ask the reporter, please read this paragraph.
Request the World Heritage Center, in collaboration with advisory bodies and with the support of states parties, to continue No, I think not. To continue its efforts to coordinate and implement the Regional Capacity Building Program as per the Action Plan 2012-2017.
Thank you very much. Are any objections to this paragraph? I see none. So then paragraph 13.
New paragraph 13 proposed by Mali requests the World Heritage Center to pay special attention to the management of sites in danger, reflecting on the application of the reinforced monitoring mechanism and the mobilization of adequate resources. Just a small comment, Madam Chairperson, and maybe to confirm with the delegation of Mali. I guess that they want to, but that's why I need confirmation, to refer to the properties in the World Heritage List in danger. Is that so? So maybe we'll need just to rephrase it. They are nodding. So basically, it will have to say to the management of properties inscribed in the World Heritage List in danger.
Algeria, floor is yours.
Merci, Madame la Présidente. Je voudrais peut-être remplacer le mot réfléchissant par en veillant plutôt. Merci.
Thank you very much. Are anybody object to adopt this paragraph? I see nobody adopted. Paragraph 14. Paragraph 14 stays like it was proposed in the original decision. So, are any objections? I see none, so adopted. And now we have to adopt the whole decision, which contains in document WHC 12/36.com/inf.10D, Periodic Reporting Action Plan for Africa. Point 4, adopted. Thank you very much. Dear colleagues, before we move to the next item 11 of our agenda, I would like to tell you further to the resolution 36 concerning the Mali, the cultural property in Mali. May I remind you that upon our agreement today at 1 o'clock, we go to the Peter the Great Monument. I would ask to go only the chiefs of the delegations, or maybe the persons designated by the chief of delegations. And we will special appeal to the international community. I would ask you at 1 o'clock, chief of delegation or designated one person from the delegation. We will straight go on the bus to that place. Members of the committee, of course, yes, thank you very much. And then today, during the bureau meeting, which we had in the morning, it was decided that because of budget item completely is not ready, And the delegation of Japan asked us that we can speak about the anniversary of the convention only tomorrow. So the item 15 will be discussed tomorrow, and maybe today, if we will not so long in discussion, so we will take some points of the tomorrow's agenda today. Thank you very much, and now we move on to the item 11, protection of the Palestinian cultural and natural heritage. I now invite Madame Véronique Doche from the World Heritage Center to present the report.
Merci Madame la Présidente. Comme vous le savez, depuis la 26e session du comité, un soutien est apporté aux institutions palestiniennes en charge de la préservation du patrimoine grâce à une allocation financière du Fonds du patrimoine mondial, entre autres. Le document 11 qui vous est présenté résume les activités menées depuis la dernière session du comité, conjointement par le département des antiquités palestiniens et le bureau de l'UNESCO à Ramallah, qui les associe aux projets extra-budgétaires qui sont généreusement alloués à ce bureau. Diapo suivante, merci. Diapo suivante.
No, dear, yes, oh, you didn't finish. Excuse me.
Parmi ces projets, je citerai l'achèvement du plan de conservation et de gestion de la région de Bethléem, la poursuite du financement du projet de présentation de la grande salle des thermes du palais d'Hicham à Jéricho, l'achèvement de la rénovation du canal Wakala à Naplouse, les études sur la protection et la gestion des paysages culturels dans l'ensemble du pays, des fouilles archéologiques et un projet de conservation à Tel Balata, à Naplouse. Diapositive suivante, s'il vous plaît. Des fouilles également et un projet de conservation à Tel Amer, le monastère de Saint-Hilarion à Gaza. Et enfin, dans le cadre du projet des objectifs des millénaires, un projet d'intégration et de conservation du site de Sébastia. Je voudrais remercier à cette occasion tous les pays qui contribuent considérablement à ces programmes, en particulier l'Italie, la Norvège, les Pays-Bas, la Suisse, la France, l'Espagne, la Commission européenne et enfin la Suède qui vient d'allouer un programme de 8 millions de dollars pour les activités de préservation du patrimoine dans ces territoires. Depuis le 8 mars 2012, la Palestine est devenue partie à notre convention et a de fait rejoint la communauté du patrimoine mondial. La décision qui vous est proposée se trouve à la page 3 du document en français et en anglais. Merci Madame la Présidente.
Thank you very much for that quick report. Dear colleagues, you have in front of you the draft decision 36.11, which we should now adopt. In this regard, I would like to underline that as Palestine is now a state party to the World Heritage Convention, this item will no longer be a separate item on the agenda of the next session of the committee. You will therefore note that the draft decision contained in this working document does not propose any report for the next session. This item will be discussed during future sessions under the Arab region nominations, periodic reporting, or state of conservation, depending on the issues concerned. I now turn to the committee members. Are there any comments regarding this draft decision? The floor is open. I want to give the floor to the rapporteur to take us through the draft decision. You have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So you may want me to proceed paragraph by paragraph?
Yes, I think it's a procedure.
Okay. Okay, paragraph 1. Having examined document WHC 12/36com/11. Sorry. Well, basically, Mr. Chairman, there are no amendments, but only one presented by the delegation of Senegal on paragraph 5, which is appearing now in your screen, and which included a phrase at the end of the paragraph which says, including the Jerusalem Southern Terrace landscape known as Batir. This is the only amendment we have received so far, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Rapporteur. I would like to request the committee to adopt paragraph 1, 2, 3, and 4, and then we can discuss the amended paragraph. Any objections in adopting paragraph 1, 2, 3, and 4? I see none. Paragraph 1, 2, 3, and 4 adopted. Any objections to paragraph 5 as amended by Senegal? I see none. Paragraph 5 adopted. We have paragraph 6, 7, 8. Scroll down. Is there another one? Is the last one? Therefore, I want to propose that there are no new amendments there. Can you adopt paragraph 6, 7, and 8? I see none. Paragraph 6, 7, 8 adopted. I now want us to move us to the adoption of the whole draft decision. Decision Decision 36/11, the whole draft decision. Are there any objections? I see none. Draft decision 36/11 adopted. Dear colleagues, we are now going to proceed with item 13 of the agenda. Oh, sorry, Israel, apologies. You have the floor.
Thank you very much. Mr. Chair, distinguished members, this is the third Palestinian-related decision passed by the committee in its current meeting. We, but not only us, find it odd that so much committee time is dedicated to one Middle East issue where other, bigger and more emergency-prone, were ignored, namely the state of conservation of sites in Syria and in Libya, about which, the danger to which statements by the DG were made. The DG, Ms. Bukova, described the situation in Syria as becoming more crucial by the hour. Still, the committee did not make any decisions or discuss the situation of those sites. I innocently believed that this would be the center of the committee discussions, but as you know, politics won over substance again, and endangering this way the credibility of the convention, which may again really turn to be an Alice in Wonderland reality instead of the real reality. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Israel. The committee noted your concerns and we respect your views regarding this matter. Palestine, you have the floor.
Merci, Monsieur le Président. Je pourrais d'ores et déjà rassurer le distingué représentant d'Israël, à savoir que la résolution que nous venons d'adopter est déjà sortie du champ de nos travaux, puisque c'est la dernière fois que nous l'adoptons. Cela dit, je ne pense pas que le problème soit le problème du nombre des décisions, mais que du temps passé pour les adopter. Nos décisions passeront plus vite, même si elles restent nombreuses, le jour où les problèmes seront traités et résolus. Je voudrais à ce titre vous donner 2 exemples qui vous montreront la pertinence de ce que je prétends avancer. Tout d'abord, je me souviens que lors de l'admission de la Palestine, nous avons été, non pas confrontés, mais témoins d'une ironie terrible de l'histoire. Je voudrais que vous sachiez que le Sud-Soudan est devenu membre de notre organisation en 22 minutes et que mon peuple et mon pays ont mis 22 ans à accéder à cette organisation. Je vous laisse juger de l'importance du temps passé. Pas plus tard que lors de l'adoption de la résolution sur Bethléem et donc de l'inscription de Bethléem, il s'est passé une chose extrêmement ironique pour moi. Notre résolution, notre admission, notre inscription ont pris de longues heures avec toutes sortes d'arguments formalistes, et je l'entends, je le répète, formalistes, alors que la décision qui a immédiatement suivi et qui concernait l'inscription d'un site à Haïfa qui, par le hasard et l'ironie terrible de l'histoire, et ma ville natale, et c'est là que ma maison est encore là, est passée comme un éclair. Donc, travaillons, et je suis d'accord, à réduire le temps, à arrêter de poser des embûches aux demandes palestiniennes, et vous verrez que nos travaux seront infiniment plus légers et surtout infiniment plus équitables. Maintenant, l'essentiel n'est pas là. Je ne suis pas là pour refaire des bilans et des reproches. L'essentiel est que dans l'entrée de la Palestine, ensuite, le fait qu'elle ait pu exercer ses droits, à savoir l'un de ses droits, le droit d'inscrire ses sites. Nous avons, en inscrivant le site de Bethléem, bien entendu, confirmé, établi l'importance de ce site, sa valeur exceptionnelle, son poids universel. Mais par-delà tout cela, et c'est ce que je voudrais laisser à votre réflexion, par-delà tout cela, quels sont les éminents délégués qui se sont posé la question suivante, à savoir qu'un pays qui est très petit, qui est mon pays, ma patrie, la Palestine, qui pèse d'un poids incroyablement plus grand que sa taille réelle, qui est cher au cœur de centaines de millions de personnes. Mon pays, dont la population est à 92% musulmane, a choisi d'inscrire pour la première fois dans son histoire son premier site, une église chrétienne. Qui sont les délégués qui ont estimé à sa juste valeur ce symbole et ce signal de pluralisme et de pluralité que nous envoyons au monde, au lieu de venir nous dire l'expert a dit et l'expert n'a pas dit. Or, nous savons également ce que l'expert a dit, mais cela est une autre histoire. Pour finir, je voudrais vous dire qu'un grand chantier commence en Palestine. Nous sommes en train de travailler d'arrache-pied à l'établissement d'une charte pour la conservation du patrimoine culturel. Nous sommes en train également de préparer tous nos dossiers. Et je voudrais à ce propos remercier du fond du cœur tous les pays amis qui sont en train de nous aider, qui nous accompagnent dans cette marche qui a trop longtemps attendu pour débuter. Et j'ajouterai également des remerciements très spécifiques pour nos amis de Malte qui nous aident précisément dans l'établissement de cette charte du patrimoine. Merci, monsieur.
Thank you. Dear colleagues, we are now going to proceed with item 13 of the agenda on the revision of the operational guidelines. You have in front of you document WHC 12/36.com/13. If you allow me, I would like to give the floor to His Excellency, Mr. Imhoff, Ambassador and Permanent Delegate of Switzerland to UNESCO, who acted as the chairperson of the working group on the revision of the operational guidelines established by this committee. Dear colleagues, before doing so, I wish to pay a particular tribute to the work of Ambassador Imhoff for his outstanding commitment with this group for the last 3 sessions of the committee in Brasilia, in Paris, and here in St. Petersburg. as well as the working group meeting of November 2011. Please, Ambassador Imhoff, you have the floor.
Merci, Monsieur le Président. L'établissement du groupe de travail ouvert à toutes les délégations a été demandé par la décision 35-13 de l'année passée. Il s'est réuni ici à Saint-Pétersbourg 5 fois durant la session actuelle du comité et le groupe a examiné les points suivants selon le mandat qui était spécifié au document de travail 13 que nous avions examiné lundi dernier rapidement pour décider de la mise en place de ce groupe de travail. Les points que je rappelle et qui se trouvent dans ce document de travail concernaient d'abord la proposition pour l'amendement jordanien de l'article 68 des orientations, proposition qui, à la suite d'une discussion approfondie, n'a pas été retenue, ce qui, comme d'ailleurs tous les autres points que je vais évoquer, est dûment reflété dans le projet de décision qui vous est soumis. Le deuxième point que nous avons examiné concerne les recommandations concernant les résultats de 2 réunions d'experts internationales qui ont eu lieu cette année, celle de Al-Ain sur l'intégrité et celle de Varsovie sur le critère 6 et les valeurs associées. Le résultat de ces réunions nécessite encore une réflexion plus approfondie avant d'être inséré dans les orientations, notamment en ce qui concerne les conditions d'intégrité et d'authenticité pour les biens culturels. Et de nouveau, dans les décisions, vous le verrez, le groupe propose de mandater le centre et les organisations consultatives d'y travailler en repassant en revue le contenu notamment du paragraphe 89 des orientations. Nous avons ensuite longuement discuté également de certaines clarifications des demandes d'assistance internationale qui sont également reflétées dans la décision qui vous est soumise. Enfin, nous avons corrigé quelques petites coquilles, quelques petites adaptations techniques suite à des erreurs de traduction, la langue française restant parfois malmenée à l'UNESCO. Au-delà de ces points spécifiques qui figuraient donc à l'ordre du jour formel, nous avons également examiné le plan de mise en œuvre portant sur l'avenir de la Convention, qui est à l'ordre du jour de la présente session sous point 12A de l'ordre du jour. Les recommandations provenant du groupe de travail sur le rapport de l'audit externe. En conclusion de cet échange de vues stimulant, le groupe propose de mandater le Centre du patrimoine mondial, en collaboration avec les organisations consultatives, de faire des propositions de révision pour certains articles, des orientations et certaines questions spécifiques qui ne sont pas encore prêtes à être intégrées dans notre guide, dans notre manuel de base. Le groupe a également conclu que d'autres documents, comme les futures orientations politiques, les manuels de référence, pourraient être développés davantage au lieu de s'intégrer tout de suite dans les orientations. Nous avons constaté une chose importante, me semble-t-il, et que j'aimerais partager avec les membres du comité. C'est que nous sommes en train de travailler depuis plusieurs années déjà, en parallèle, sur une panoplie de documents neufs, de documents à réviser ou à développer. Au fond, à chaque question concrète qui se pose à nous, on met sur pied un groupe de travail qui crée finalement un nouveau manuel que l'on met ensuite dans un tiroir parce que personne n'en prend vraiment connaissance. Nous avons donc devant nous une tâche immense, me semble-t-il, et le petit travail que nous avons pu faire actuellement n'est pas suffisant. Nous avons les orientations à réviser, nous avons le règlement intérieur peut-être à adapter ponctuellement. Nous sommes saisis du plan de mise en œuvre des recommandations de l'auditeur externe à compléter et à transformer dans un plan d'action concret. Certains manuels de référence doivent être complétés. Le plan d'action stratégique doit être développé et mis en œuvre. De futures orientations, peut-être, pourraient être développées. Il semble, à mon sens, crucial de clarifier les liens entre ces documents, de clarifier leur caractère juridique et de coordonner toutes ces différentes stratégies et plans de mise en œuvre afin de les fusionner, notamment aussi sous l'aspect budgétaire. De plus, il faut absolument développer, me semble-t-il, une méthodologie, un processus pour la révision des orientations par cycle. Par exemple, tous les 4 ans. Il n'est pas possible, me semble-t-il, de réviser ces orientations en boucle sans que personne ne sache quand, comment et où exactement ces révisions se font. Il y va de la sécurité juridique. La suite de nos travaux se présente ainsi. Toutes les révisions définitives aux orientations adoptées par le groupe se trouvent dans les annexes du nouveau projet de décision 36 comme 13 qui est devant vous. Ces révisions seront intégrées dans les orientations tout de suite. Les propositions demandées aux centres et aux organisations consultatives pour des révisions de certains autres articles et pour la clarification des thèmes spécifiques mentionnés dans la décision reviendront pour discussion à la session du comité l'année prochaine, de nouveau, je pense, sous le point 13. Enfin, les considérations concernant le plan de mise en œuvre des recommandations de l'audit externe seront reprises lors de la prochaine réunion du groupe de travail ouvert à tous à la fin du mois de janvier 2013 et qui s'occupe de la finalisation de ces orientations. Je vous remercie, Monsieur le Président. Je m'arrête là. J'ai peut-être même été trop long. Mais je suis prêt à répondre à toutes vos questions. Madame la Présidente, c'est Monsieur le Président qui m'a donné la parole. Je rends la parole à Madame la Présidente. Excusez-moi.
Thank you very much for your very substantial and very clear presentation. So we all have, you know, the draft decision included in this document. India, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. May I reassure Ambassador Imhoff that he never takes up too much time. His suggestions, the wisdom that he brings, have all combined over the years to bring perspectives that enrich the convention and our understanding of it. So we are indeed very grateful to him for his leadership, and we hope that he will continue to exercise this leadership. Madam Chair, the reason for, let me say, the great interest in the work of the open-ended working group and the processes that will follow have really been the concerns that emerged in one form or the other during the discussions over the past, I'm not even very clear now whether it's days or weeks that we've been here. And in this process, very fundamental issues have emerged of the relationship and role of the advisory body, the bodies, the member states, the World Heritage Center. And there is a concern that the World Heritage Convention in its 40th year should perhaps respond to the changing nature of the demands being placed on it. more importantly, the expectations and the aspirations. To the credit of all of what has happened, it has begun to broaden geographically, thematically, conceptually. The convention and its implementation have also received much more attention from peoples and areas that were previously unrepresented. Now, these issues are of great importance, partly because they also represent the heart, or one of the major elements of UNESCO. Madam Chair, may I submit that beyond the guidelines, beyond the rules and procedures and so on, there is a need to look at the soul of the convention, meaning how this proceeds. I don't want to take much more time, but I would request a brief discussion on each of the paragraphs that have been proposed, if it is possible within the time before we come to the decision. Secondly, that the process need not end here and the consultation continue in one form or the other. Now, the third part of what I want to say is that the advisory bodies and the World Heritage Center, there is much that can be done to respond to the concerns expressed by member states outside of the guidelines and the rules and the procedures. And I would be very grateful for some statement, some expression from the advisory bodies in the World Heritage Center of whether they have noted the kinds of concerns and the expressions of concerns, and if they have a response that they are prepared to be to bring out now. And these relate to accountability, of the streamlining of processes, upstreaming, or the assistive role that each of them has, and so on. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Dear colleagues, you know, it seems to me that our Indian ambassador put a very important question, but it seems to me that it was open-ended group working during long time. And is it reasonable now to open item-by-item discussion? Even ahead, we have decision-making procedures of the statutory organs of the World Heritage Committee, when we can maybe more press attention on this relation and on these, I would say, concerns which state parties expressed on this issue during all these debates. Are you agree with such approach that we just move directly to the draft decision in his entirely?
Madam Chair, I would defer to what you have said. Could we get a very brief statement from the World Heritage Committee and the advisory bodies on what they have seen and observed and whether it means anything to them in the future? Thank you, Madam
Thank
Chair.
you very much. Japan, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'd like to support your the guidance on the management of this item, and also I'd like to commend the excellent work by this working group for its very the professional work to reflect the various views, and particularly I'd like to express my sincere appreciation to the Ambassador of Switzerland for its the very magnificent chairmanship to convene the very different issues on the working group. And Japan would like to satisfied with the outcome of this working group. Thank you.
Thank you very much. It seems to me it would be reasonable, maybe before we move to the draft decision, to give the floor to advisory bodies and to World Heritage Center to make their reflection to what they saw in this decision. So, Mr. Rao, floor is yours.
Thank you, Madam Chair. As you rightly pointed out, Madam Chair, in response to the intervention made by the delegate of India, the item number 5, which deals with the reports of the advisory bodies, is still open. We haven't adopted the decision there, precisely because, as you mentioned, there is an open-ended working group, which I presume has done some reflection on this issue. It has had a meeting, I am told, and will come back with some specific recommendations. And I understand that there was a very good and fruitful discussion to reflect on how the advisory bodies relate to the World Heritage Committee and work with member states, etc. Now, there is also, I might point out, there has been a reflection on the future of the convention since February 2009, and this is being reported to the World Heritage Committee at each annual session. Perhaps the distinguished delegate of India has not been, party to those discussions which were launched in 2009, reported at the committee meeting in 2009, 10, and 11, and all the items on your agenda, which bear the number 12, are outputs from that process of reflection. So you will have now a document 12A presented, which talks about the global strategy and the action plan on what are the priorities for the convention, which this reflection process has brought forward. Then you have a document 12B, which talks about the decision-making procedures of the statutory organs, which includes the work that the advisory bodies and the center provide to the committee. Then you have document 12C, which is on the upstream process, precisely the kind of guidance that all members of the committee are seeking in terms of the advisory bodies and the World Heritage Center, providing upstream support and engagement with states parties. Of course, this document pertains specifically to the preparation of nominations, but there are other mechanisms by which the engagement can be strengthened. We have taken note of all the discussions that has taken place in this particular session on how this relationship can be further streamlined, strengthened, enhanced, and better support provided, and certainly we will continue to act according to the decisions that the committee adopts, including through the changes that it might wish to bring forward by changing the operational guidelines or the rules of procedures of the committee. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you very much. ICOMOS, do you have something to add?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just very briefly, we have certainly listened with great interest at the various points that have been made throughout this meeting on issues such as accountability and upstreaming and transparency and the ways in which the advisory bodies can assist and support state parties. We are ready and willing to discuss these points in further groups, and we actively welcome the idea of how the three pillars, if you like, of the convention, the committee, the World Heritage Center, and the advisory bodies can refine and streamline their working arrangements so that we optimize all the resources we have for the benefits of state parties and for the benefits of the convention. Thank you.
Thank you very much. IUCN, floor is yours.
Yes, thanks, Chair. Just briefly, this, as the Director noted, is not a discussion which is happening, being initiated here, but is a discussion which has been going on for several sessions of the committee, and we've heard the points that have been made in the debate. I think from IUCN, I've made two statements, one in the item 5B and the other following the discussion that was opened in the opening of 8B, which provided a range of points of substance, and I won't repeat that. And I think item 5B is still open, and we had a very good roundtable discussion, which I think has been helpful in creating a climate of discussion and dialogue, which has been, I think, quite rewarding. We have 12C foreseen on the upstream process, where we will come back to this as well. And I guess just the specific point that I would endorse that the distinguished delegate of India made is that these are not changes to practice that will be able to be codified only in the operational guidelines. And in fact, much of what we're talking is about the culture of working to implement the operational guidelines, not necessarily things that can be codified in terms of process, although there are some key issues that we'll no doubt explore over future years about working methods, that will have issues, particular issues in relation to calendar that we may need to discuss, issues in relation to the role of tentative lists that we may need to discuss as well, where the operational guidelines might also be refined. And there is some wording, I think, in the reflection that's come out of the working group that we've been discussing, and I think was a strong consensus around the importance of preparatory work ahead of nominations where there's a proposal in the wording that is quite helpful to advise that that's done. So I think we will elaborate on these issues substantively under item 12C as we understand the intent of the agenda. But I hope those points address what is being raised in relation to the operational guidelines, and also to reassure on the general point that we are here continually working and listening and looking forward to further discussion. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much. Ikrom, floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Madam Chairman. I'll make this intervention very brief because I think the other two advisory bodies covered the issue very well. As the director of the center said, I think these discussions that we're having actually touch on a number of the items of the agenda, starting from 9A and working through all of the 12s, 12A, 12B, 12C. So we're certainly listening to the conversation, and I think it would behoove us in the future to actually try to think in a little bit more of a strategic manner. And we have all of these different lines different implementation plans, different action plans that we're working on. I think it would be useful for us to actually try to come up with a single stream and a single discussion, because many of these issues get repeated and discussed over time in different areas. In any event, certainly Ikram is happy to continue listening to the committee, and obviously we pledge ourselves to being involved in whatever way the committee deems useful. Obviously, we are not involved in the nomination process specifically, but obviously we are involved in the capacity building process. So in whatever ways the upstream process is, or in whatever way any of the other possible advice that might exist, that the committee might be able to take advantage of Ikram, we're obviously here to offer our services to committee members and to states parties in general. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. I saw that, no, you wanted?
No, madam, I'm just extremely encouraged, in fact, enthused by the response that I heard from the three advisory bodies. And the fact that they acknowledged, which is something that I notice, is that there is a problem and we need to work together to address that problem. And I would imagine that UNESCO would also be listening and would be acting similarly. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you very much. Thank you all of you who make the statement, advisory bodies, and first of all, our dear friend, Ambassador of Switzerland. And now I propose, like it was decided, because it was very open and big consultation between the countries. I would like to straight go to the draft decision and propose to adopt it without any further discussion. I saw that United Arab Emirates. Okay. Thank you. Now I give the floor to the rapporteur.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Yes, indeed. This morning it was distributed to you in hard copy the proposed decision presented by the working group chaired by the distinguished ambassador of Switzerland. So the document is in front of you. You have it in green paper. And as the chair has proposed, you may go to the adoption in the whole text, Madam Chairperson.
Thank you very much. It is proposed that the decision 36. You still want to take the floor. Please, floor is yours. United Arab Emirates.
شكرا السيدة الرئيسة. كنت طلبت الكلمة قبل قليل وفضلت الانتظار إلى الانتقال لمشروع القرار، وعندما سمعت بأنه سيتم التعامل مع القرار بمجمله كنت أود أن أشير إذا سمحت لي إلى تقديري الكبير لدور سعادة السفير السويسري ونفسه الطويل وسعة صدره التعامل مع مدار في نقاشات هذا الفريق هو لم يألو جهدا على الوصول إلى توافق في الرؤى وصلت إلى نتيجة هذا القرار. وأريد أن أشير إلى تقديري لما عبر عنه سعادة السفير الهند والجهات الاستشارية على أهمية هذا ما قام ويقوم به فريق العمل هذا. وقد تم الإشارة من قبل سعادة السفير السويسري أن هذا الأمر بالرغم مما توصلنا إليه لا زال مطروح نتائجه ستطرح نتائجه من جديد أيضا أو سيستمر في إداء أعماله للدورة القادمة. ولذلك فقط أود أن أشير إلى إشارة بسيطة في البند 3 من مشروع القرار المتعلق بالطلب الذي تقدم به الأردن بشأن تغيير مضمون الفقرة. نحن دار نقاش طويل على هذا الموضوع، وكان رأينا بأن نصل إلى حل توفيقي يترك مساحة أكبر للتفكير في الطلب أو في مضمون الفقرة. ولذلك نرى أنه يمكن أن نشير إلى في نهاية هذه الفقرة على أن to be considered at a later stages instead at this stage. No change at this stage. Instead of that, to be considered at a later stage. أرجو أن لا نكون بهذا قد أخرناكم من الاتجاه لتغيير القرار بمجمله، ولكن من ينظر إلى هذه الصيغة لا تعطيه أي إشارة واضحة ماذا كان الطلب الأردني. شكرا سيدتي الرئيسة.
Спасибо большое, but thank you very much, but it's a little bit difficult now. You know, it means that we have to open this item, and as I understand, the group, you know, spend a lot of time to discussing this item. Switzerland, please, floor is yours.
Merci, Madame la Présidente. Je crois, et je parle là en tant que président de ce groupe de travail qui a examiné cette question 3 fois, je crois que nous sommes arrivés à la conclusion qu'à ce stade, il n'y a pas lieu de modifier l'article 68 des orientations. Je crois que c'était une décision, disons une recommandation claire, unanime, du groupe de travail avec un refus, c'est vrai, de la Jordanie. Et c'est ce qui est reflété dans le paragraphe 3. Et je considère, Madame la Présidente, et là je parle aussi en tant que président de 3 sessions de discussion sur les orientations, il faut savoir, Madame la Présidente, mettre de temps en temps un point final à nos discussions. Nous ne pouvons pas reprendre à chaque fois la même discussion. Si j'avais enregistré les discussions de l'année dernière et de l'année d'avant, je pourrais vous montrer que la discussion a été exactement la même cette année, sans nous faire avancer, et que les positions n'ont absolument pas bougé. Je pense qu'il est sage, Madame la Présidente, de procéder comme vous l'avez demandé, avec tout le respect que je dois à mon cher collègue des Émirats arabes unis. Merci beaucoup, Madame la Présidente.
Thank you very much, and it seems to me in any case is necessary, it's not necessary at this stage, means that maybe in the other stage it can be in future, it can be opened. So I don't see the big contradiction, but if the whole wording was elaborated by the working group, so please accept that maybe we will not open. You agree? Thank you very much. So I propose to adopt this document in this entirely. So we adopt the document 36-13. Are any objection? I see none. Adopted. Thank you very much. And once more, Ambassador of Switzerland, I express our appreciations from all member states for your very difficult and effective work. Thank you very much.
Germany also.
Germany, please, floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. We didn't want to open this because we think we can wholeheartedly congratulate all who participated. There are two little remarks that I would like to make and to be taken into consideration. One is referring to paragraph 10b, which means the factual error letters. I understand that their upload on the web, that this also means the replies by the states, so that everybody can transparently follow the replies from the states. Also in paragraph Annex 1, 122, it means studying the potential of demonstrating outstanding universal value. Juridically, I think it should have read demonstrating the fulfillment of the criteria for outstanding universal value. But that is, I think, everybody understood. Third thing is that the committee can only recommend to the extent they manage to do that, and not the committee, the World Heritage bodies, because they are already overloaded. There is one point where I would like all to please allow the state of Poland say a word on number 5, because they have a little correction to make to the meeting they did, which is mentioned there. Thanks the government of Poland for organizing a meeting, and there is a little...
Excuse me, I'm obliged to interrupt you because we adopted the decision. We not more to return to this. No.
No, but the government of Poland has an...
It has to be discussed before, and it has to be discussed in working group, but not now.
Can we invite them to send it to the Secretariat to check whether it's not a contents change? That the Secretariat can study this?
No, it's late. Now we will not do it. So we can return maybe next stages of... We adopted the decision. Dear Martina, we adopted the decision. So we will not now return to any mistakes made in this decision. Colombia, you have the floor.
Gracias, señora presidenta. Hemos hecho una propuesta de decisión contenida en un documento que ya ha sido repartido a todos ustedes, que es la 36.13.1. Este proyecto de decisión recoge un interés que yo creo que es de todos los estados parte, o de buena parte de ellos, respecto a unas discusiones que creo que debemos llevar a cabo relacionadas con los temas de las ciudades históricas particularmente. Creo que la inclusión reciente en el seno de este comité del paisaje cultural de Río de Janeiro invita y abre posibilidades de discusión sobre unos temas supremamente interesantes que deberían tener lugar. Asimismo, vale la pena comentar que generosamente Brasil ha ofrecido justamente el ser sede de este encuentro en el centro de categoría 2 en Río de Janeiro. Entonces, pues el proyecto de decisión está en sus manos y lo quisiéramos someter a consideración de este comité. Muchas gracias.
Please, I would like to give the floor to the World Heritage Center and then to ICOMOS. Maybe the Assistant Director General for Culture.
Thank you, Chairperson. Yes, it's just to recall the nature of this proposal, which reflects, in fact, the discussion that took place years ago in the committee. You may recall that the committee actually started years ago, in 2005, a reflection on the situation and the perspective, but also the tools and definitions on historic cities. Thanks to this initiative, the committee, UNESCO, along the years, developed a very important process, which led last year to the approval by the General Conference of a recommendation on the historic urban landscape, which of course is not specific only or restricted only to World Heritage properties, but addresses in general the approach to urban conservation in a way that is more integrated and comprehensive than the ones that can be found in previous texts. Most of you or have followed this evolution along the years, and advisory bodies and have been involved because it has been a very, very comprehensive activity. We organized over 10 international meetings on that. The thing went into the executive board, the General Conference, there were international category 2 intergovernmental meetings. I mean, it was a very big process. So at that time, in 2009, the committee somehow postponed the discussion on this item to the approval of the recommendation. So I think it's timely, and I would like to thank Colombia to have put forward this proposal. It's timely. It's time now to look at how the recommendation can be reflected in the operation guidelines. Now, I know that you are just coming out of a very long process of revision of the operational guidelines, so it might seem a little bit too much. But you know, the convention has to go forward, and on top, I think that this will involve many discussions. Perhaps we will not be able to provide a final text in just one cycle. So I think it is just a reopening a process that had been temporarily suspended to allow the other process to be completed. So it's just a connection with what was done at UNESCO. I think you all have noticed, perhaps even during this meeting, that there are certain issues that need to be addressed. I'm not going to go into any detail, but you may have noticed, for instance, when the city of Rabat was inscribed, the definition that ICOMOS has to give to this property, which, as you have seen, it's a very extended property that includes different layers of heritage of different times and so on. It's very large, but the definition is still that is a group of building, because that's what we have in the convention. And I think that it's time now to perhaps look again at these definitions. Of course, we cannot change the convention, but we can perhaps in the operation guidelines, and specifically in the Annex 3, which is the one where historic towns are defined, to find a better language, better concepts, and perhaps something that not only reflects the recommendation on historic urban landscape, but also looks forward to this very important category for the years to come. Thank you, Madam Chairperson.
Thank you very much. The floor is open, and I would like to hear your opinions concerning this proposal. Mexico, please, floor is yours.
Señora Presidenta, creo que antes de que habláramos nosotros iba a darle la palabra a ICOMOS, si no me equivoco.
ICOMOS, yes, excuse me. Yes, ICOMOS, please. I would like to hear your opinion.
Thank you, Madam Chair. ICOMOS considers that the approach to the management and protection of historic urban landscapes in general and historic urban landscapes that are World Heritage Sites in particular is of great importance because it brings out many of the key issues that have been flagged up at this meeting in terms of sustainable development, protection, conservation, visual integrity, the role of stakeholders and local communities, and so on. There has already been a long debate on this issue, as you have already heard, but we do consider that it could be timely for further reflections on this issue to see how the various methodologies that have been suggested have practical implications. We think this is not a quick process, that more debate is still needed, and that this meeting that has been proposed certainly is timely in that respect. Thank you.
I have the question, are we ready to make appropriate revision of the operational guidelines? We now are in quite difficult situation with other issues, and we maybe we have to speak now about the methodology and some approaches to this problem, but not concretely on the operational guidelines. Maybe it's premature. Please take the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chairperson. Yeah, I was also stressing the fact that the committee is stressed by the revision of the operational guidelines. But again, this is opening a process, you know, and eventually, next year possibly, but maybe even later on, we will have some changes in the operational guidelines. I think that what we need is to come up, look at the issue, make a proposal in terms of concept and directions to take, have a discussion next year, that's for sure important, and then perhaps later on see how this can be reflected. So as Icomos just mentioned, I see this as a very medium-term process. It's not something that we have to do now or next year unless things evolve in a very, timely manner. But I think that this will take more than one cycle, but we need to have, at least fix the issues, and this meeting will allow, I hope, and then come back next year and discuss at the committee. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Are there any other opinions? Japan, please, floor is yours.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and I appreciate the proposal by Colombia, but at the same time, I think the issue on the historical urban landscape is a very important but very complicated issue, and it's also the very critical issue to all member states, I think, including my country also. So I feel that this issue needs the more time to deliver, reflect very deliberately and very deeply. So the time frame to the proposal to revision of the operation guideline to the next session is, I feel that it's too rush or too quick response to this very difficult issue. That is my feeling. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Mexico.
Muchas gracias, señora presidenta. Nosotros nos queremos unir a la propuesta hecha por Colombia. México ha estado participando activamente desde que el año pasado el subdirector general de Cultura de la UNESCO convocó a una reunión para empezar a hablar de estos temas y creemos que es de gran importancia empezar a tomar nuevas definiciones sobre esta categoría de sitios patrimoniales.
Thank you very much. France, floor is yours.
Merci Madame la Présidente. La France accueille très favorablement la proposition de la Colombie qui permettra en effet de clarifier certaines notions qui se trouvent dans les orientations. Toutefois, il faudra vraiment veiller à la cohérence d'ensemble des orientations. Et la France est en effet très intéressée à participer à ce débat et également évidemment à ce processus. Merci Madame la Présidente.
So I don't see any other countries who wants to make the statement, so we move directly to the draft decision.
Thank you, Madam Chairperson. Yes, as was mentioned by the delegate of Colombia, the draft decision we received this morning was distributed to all of you. It is composed basically of 6 paragraphs. As long as we have adopted the decision presented by the working group of the operational guidelines, we will have decision 13.1 and decision 32, just for you to know when we come to the last day of the session, adopting all our decisions. So you may want to proceed, Madam Chairperson, paragraph by paragraph.
It seems to me it's no reason. Maybe we can adopt it in this entirety, because I didn't see any amendments or somebody wants to change it. So decision 36.13.1 is adopted. I see no objections. Adopted. Thank you very much. Dear colleagues, we have only 5 minutes. I suppose that maybe it's no reason to open the debate on the next item. We are exactly in time. I would only to remind you that afternoon we have item 14, then we will have items of the next day agenda 12A, 12B, and 12C. And now, like I asked you, the one member of the delegation of the committee, we will meet in the entrance and we will go to the city to make our statement concerning the Mali situation. And of course, I will ask the Minister of Culture of Mali to be with us. And I give the floor to Madame Rossler to make the announcement.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. You have heard about the budget group. It will be meeting again at 1:30 in the library room. We also have the pleasure to remind the delegates from Europe and North America that there's an information meeting on the 2nd cycle of periodic reporting, and that will take place at 2 o'clock in room 1. And we have also a periodic reporting meeting for Latin America and the Caribbean, which takes place in room 16. Thank you very much.
So the morning session is over. Thank you.